Right now, the Syrian army is tightening the noose on the besieged city of Homs. Opposition forces under attack for a fifth straight day. The shelling is relentless, the fear is constant, and the bodies are piling up. Activists say 137 people were killed by government troops today alone, including 10 more children. Young Syrians are taking to the streets in protest, fearing this day will be their last. An activist known as Danny has been posting videos documenting the terror and the carnage.
This is one of the houses in Bab Amr. Look at these children. Is this how the Assad regime is supposed to treat our children? Now you see what the Assad regime is killing children. What is the UN going to do about this? What is the UN going to do about this? Nothing. They're going to sit and discuss and see what they're going to do. They want to do this peacefully. They want to solve it peacefully with this murderer after what he did to these children. They've been hitting us from 6 a.m. until it's 2 p.m. now. We have over 100 bodies, over 200 underneath the destructions. We don't even know who they are. And this is only in one area in Homs. Look at the children. How can you stand and watch these children be like this? This is Syria, Homs, Bab Amr.
Syrians are risking their lives to make sure the world knows what's happening inside their country. The government has severely limited the access of international journalists. CNN's Ivan Watson is working his sources from neighboring Turkey.
The Syrian military continued its deadly artillery assault on the besieged city of Homs on Thursday and claimed the lives, according to Syrian activists, of more than 100 people in a single day. Among the scores and hundreds of people who've been wounded in the course of these days of rocket and mortar attacks were one Syrian activist who attracted international attention weeks ago when he confronted international observers, Arab observers, and said they were not doing enough to protect civilian lives. He has been wounded and issued a video appeal to the international community to come to the rescue of these beleaguered civilians. He also had harsh words of defiance for the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad.
يا بشار لا تفكر راح نستسلم والله لو قتلتنا كلياتنا ما راح نستسلم لو قتلتنا كلياتنا ما راح نستسلم.
The Syrian regime is becoming increasingly isolated. The Libyan government announced that it had given Syrian diplomats 72 hours to leave Tripoli. Meanwhile, the Syrian state news agency wrote a report, unconfirmed thus far, that its diplomats were attacked in Tripoli on Wednesday. Syrian diplomats have also been ordered out of other Gulf Arab countries over the course of the last week. Meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary General has continued his harsh words of criticism for the Syrian government. He says that he has communicated with the Secretary General of the Arab League to possibly send in another group of Arab observers to Syria, perhaps joined with UN personnel. But activists on the ground in Homs say they do not want more observers. They need the basic medical goods and supplies to treat the scores of wounded people there. One doctor telling us he doesn't even have antibiotics to treat the more than 100 wounded patients he received Thursday morning alone. Ivan Watson, CNN, Istanbul.
And there's no reason to believe Bashar al-Assad is getting outside help to brutally destroy his opponents inside Syria. That help apparently coming from a rather ominous place, Iran. Brian Todd is here. He's been looking into this part of the story for us. What are you seeing?
Wolf, this could be a very disturbing sign of just how far the Syrian regime is willing to go to crush this uprising. We have reports that Iran, a key ally of Syria's, has sent one of its most accomplished and ruthless commanders to Damascus to work some of his lethal tactics.
A crackdown that's brutal, relentless, and possibly part of a frightening collaboration. The commander of Iran's notorious Quds force has been inside Syria recently, according to various media outlets. One report in the Haaretz newspaper says he's even been inside the war room of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, helping Assad direct his forces. The Quds force, the secretive, lethal arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps. Its leader, a shadowy, ominous figure, General Qasem Soleimani.
Concern among U.S. officials about Qasem Soleimani goes all the way to the top. Here at the Treasury Department, he's been cited more than once for his involvement in the repression of the Syrian people during this uprising and for taking part in terrorist plots. Treasury officials say Soleimani oversaw the Quds Force officers involved in the alleged plot to assassinate Saudi Arabia's ambassador to the U.S. And analyst Matthew Levitt, who's written books about Iran's proxy in Lebanon, the terrorist group Hezbollah, says Soleimani's imprint is on some well-known operations.
We have the attacks in Argentina. We have the attack on Khobar Towers. We have lots of surveillance of U.S. officials and diplomatic installations.
Analysts say Qasem Soleimani's known as an aggressive commander. He's been called the sharp point of the Iranian spear, a rising star since the Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, when he led a series of daring missions behind Iraqi lines. He is such a powerful figure now, experts say, that he reports directly to Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, not to President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. In the Syrian conflict, what could he bring to the Syrians that they don't already have?
We know that Iran, for example, provided Syria with the technical capability to follow Facebook and social media to be able to see where the next protest was going to be. We suspect and are concerned about Quds Force providing training and, in fact, the weapons for advanced snipers and stuff like that.
It was the Quds Force, analysts say, that played a key role in suppressing the 2009 Green Revolution inside Iran. Why would Iran send such a key figure to Syria?
The loss of a strategic ally, like Syria, like the Assad regime, would be a critical blow.
Analysts say that's because Syria is a key pipeline for weapons, supplies, and trainers sent from Iran to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and for similar aid to another group the U.S. considers a terrorist organization, Hamas. We called and emailed Syrian and Iranian representatives at the UN for response to those reports of Qasem Soleimani being inside Syria. We didn't hear back.
And we know from U.S. officials they believe that the same Quds Force that apparently is now in Syria undertook some notorious terrorist attacks against Americans in Iraq.
That's right. All those IED attacks in Iraq that killed so many Americans, U.S. officials have said that the Iraqi militants who did that got the components, they got the expertise, the know-how about how to make the weapons and where to plant them from Iran. Say the Quds is very well known for its expertise in that field.
Well, we know this Iranian-Syrian connection has been intense.
Very strong.
Very important for Bashar al-Assad. Thanks very much, Brian. Let's talk a little bit more about Syria under siege right now. Joining us is Rick Stengel, the managing editor of Time magazine and the new issue of Time. Rick, you have some really remarkable photos documenting civilian casualties in Syria. I want to put this first one up, and I want you to tell us how you managed to get these photos. This is a Syrian man holding his wounded brother in a house that is used as a hospital in Bab Amr, a southern neighborhood outside of Homs. But walk us through a little bit, this photographer. How did you get this access?
Yes, he's an Italian photographer who's working for us in Syria, Alessio Romenzi. He smuggled himself into the country, Wolf. I mean, it's very difficult to get in there, as you know, and sometimes we don't know how folks do that, and they take great risks upon themselves. And this is in a private home in the southern area of Homs that they're using as a hospital, and because the hospital itself is taken over by government forces, and the streets are filled with snipers and rebels, and it's very difficult to get out. So he's in this house and in the basement of this house.
I want to put another one of these amazing photos up. Let me put the next one up there. These are mourners at a funeral of a 31-year-old who was shot dead by the Syrian army, by a sniper there. And you can see the anguish, the pain, and multiply this many-fold, Rick.
Yes, I mean, this picture was taken a little while ago, but as you say, Wolf, I mean, the country is in desperate straits. The people who support the Free Syrian Army are risking their lives as well. I assume these women, even just going out into the streets for a funeral, are taking great risks.
And look at this next picture, Rick. It's a whole bunch of folks who are crowded in a shelter. There's bombardment, shelling going on, and you can see the fear in these faces.
Yes, this is where Alessio himself has been. He was obviously down in the basement. There's shelling going on all day. The people feel the safest place to be, particularly for women and children, is underground in the basement.
Look at this next picture. This is a member of what we call the Free Syrian Army shooting at the regular Syrian army of Bashar al-Assad. You know, there's a debate underway, Rick, and, among journalists. Do we call this a civil war yet? I don't know what Time Magazine's position is, but you can explain that to us.
Well, we actually in the current issue in the story that precedes these pictures that we're looking at, we basically say it is a civil war. That basically the country is at war with itself. The Free Syrian Army, which is a murky force. I mean, that's ex-military people, civilians. We don't exactly know who they are, but obviously what's going on in Homs and in other cities around Syria is in effect a civil war. You know, whether you have to have a scale that takes over the whole country or not, I don't know, but certainly that's what's going on there.
And look at this next picture, because it really is a sad picture. There's so many of these going on. This is a mother and her sons. Her husband was shot dead by the Syrian army while he was out in the countryside in Syria, and you can just see the mourning that's going on. These little boys, obviously, I'm sure, do not understand what's really going on.
Yes, I mean, what we're seeing, Wolf, of course, is, you know, the continuation of Arab Spring. But what we're seeing in Syria is a government force which is using an iron fist to clamp down on the protests. We haven't really seen that anywhere else successfully, or anybody who has pursued it with the relentlessness as the Assad regime.
And Alessio, this Italian photographer, I assume he's out of there. He's safe and sound now, is that right?
He's gone to another house that's a little bit further out, and again, we hope he's safe. He's taken great risks himself.
Well, we hope he is safe as well. It's an amazing series of photos in the new issue of Time. Thanks very much, Rick Stengel, for joining us. And you can see more of these remarkable photos from Syria in Time Magazine, our sister publication. Thanks very much, Rick, for that. The Pentagon is opening up thousands of jobs to women. It could put them closer to the front lines. We have a report. Plus,